my own life balance. When I got out of prison, I went up in the mountains and I looked around and I sat down and I seen the water all polluted. I seen the trees being cut down. I seen this concrete maze that man has made. And it's like I had come from another place that's not the same as the place that you guys are, or that world lives in. And I thought, well, who's responsible for this? Whose job is this to make sure that we got air here to breathe? Because we're going to run out of air here, man. This whole planet's going to run out of air. And I look at the water, and I look at the way they're misusing the resources and the water, and how they use tons and tons and tons and tons of paper. You got 200 million people shoveling paper all day long. You know, you think there's something has to be done here, you know, to reach a balance to where we can have life on this planet. You watch the people feed tons of grain to animals, and then they kill the animals and eat the animals. Why don't you just eat the grain and leave the animals live? It don't make sense. Why do they eat the animals? They eat flesh and blood, and then they go to church and talk about thou shalt not kill. And they kill every day with every breath they take, you know. And you say, you gotta quit killing the animals, man. You gotta quit eating the flesh. What's wrong with you, man? Jeez, man. And then I say that the life they're killing is mine. And then I go out and they're cutting a great big old tree down. And I go, oh, I feel it. I feel it. What are you doing? You're cutting me down here. So I tell him, don't cut me down or I'll shoot you. You know, if you keep cutting the trees down, I'm going to cut you down. And he said, well, look, I got a wife and kids, and I need the money. I have the job, and I don't know anything else. And I said, well, I can't blame you. Who's your boss? So I go to the boss, and the boss says, well, I've worked 20 years to be foreman here. And he says, this is my way of life, and my kids are going to college, and I need the money. I said, well, it ain't your fault. And then I said, well, who's your boss? And he said, Ace and Ace Lumber Company. So I go to the Ace Lumber Company, and they subsidiary to a Revstock Company, and 40% of that stock owned by Reverend Sun and Moon, and another, let me say Korea, I should say Reverend Sun and Moon, I'm not sure of that, but then another 20% is owned by Bolivia, and somebody else owns 10%, and then Margaret Malibu owns 10%, and you go check Margaret out, and she died 5 years ago, and she willed all her assets to the cats. She got 300 cats living in a 10-bedroom mansion with a butler and a chauffeur, and everybody's provided for life as long as they take care of the cats. And the cats are reproducing themselves, so we got a legal lock on the trees, and so the cats are walking around cutting all the trees down. And everybody else, you know, in other words, the whole thing is just, man, you got to redo it. That's all there is to it. You got to re-wallpaper and change. You got to change within the system. So that's what we've been doing. And every time you hear I'm going crazy and I'm busting up everything and I burn up everything and I went to the nut hole 4 or 5 times, then you'll see that in the ground, so I'll say, oh, he's got fuel. In other words, all the time the weed they sell down here, they say, well, anybody that comes up with trees down have no respect for their own children. Those trees are thousands of years old and as long as kids. Don't be cutting them down, so all we need are hot cups. You know? So then we can hammer them up all the way back to the church and bang everything up and burn everything up. Now, if anybody does that and then their fear gets to running, then the only thing that the politicians understand is fear. You run a little fear at them, and they'll all change their ways. You know? You run a little fear at them, and you disrespect. They're scared to death of the public. They're scared of public opinion. They're scared of you guys. Looking back to the case of Longmont, would there have been a more usually acceptable means of expressing their political thought? See what I'm saying? You're still stuck in your head that I had something to do with it. So I do see this way. Here's what I had to do with it. I influenced everybody that I was around, but I could influence nobody any more than I've been influenced. If you put me in reform school and you beat me with a leather strap, and you drag me up down the hallways and break my jaw, and you bust my eyes, and and then you throw me out into the world. Okay? All the things that you've done to me, I got permission to do to you. Every time that you have misused me, when I get back on the street, you wonder why crime raises. I come in here and a cop misuses me in the hallway. Well, when I get out, what am I going to do? If I can see that the state of California can take and kill people in the gas chamber, doesn't that give me permission to do the same thing? You see what I'm saying? You're dealing with one mind, but the people,